my boss humiliated me at work. He didn't expect what happened next. They say you should never let your emotions get the best of you at work. But the day my boss humiliated me in front of the entire department, I didn't see red. I saw opportunity. He thought making a joke out of me during a client meeting would make him look powerful. What he didn't know was that I kept records, emails, call logs, versions of projects he forgot I created. So when he laughed at me that day, I just smiled back. Because he had no idea I was already building the very proof that would end his career. I work in a mid-sized consulting firm that handles marketing campaigns for tech companies. At the time, I'd been with the company for almost 5 years. My job wasn't glamorous. I was the senior account coordinator, basically the glue holding things together between clients, designers, and our directors. I wasn't management, but I knew how everything worked. My boss, Steve, was complicated. On paper, he looked like the kind of manager you'd want, confident, charming, funny. But once you actually worked for him, you learned that every bit of that charm was a weapon. His favorite pastime? Public humiliation. Did you mispronounce something in a meeting? He'd imitate you. Did you miss a deadline? He'd joke about it in front of your coworkers. Did you succeed at something? He'd find a way to turn it into a reminder that you worked for him. For the longest time, I just put my head down. I had bills, student loans, and I actually liked most of my team. Besides, every office has its politics, right? You learn to roll with it. That was until the day he decided I would be his punchline. We were presenting a quarterly progress review for one of our biggest clients, a software company that basically paid half our salaries. I'd done most of the prep, slides, data analysis, client feedback summaries. It was my baby. 10 minutes into the meeting, I was giving an update on campaign performance when Steve interrupted me. Wait, he said, raising a hand. This chart looks weird. Did you even label the axes correctly? I double-checked the slide, and it was perfect. But he turned to the clients and said, "You'll have to forgive my team, we're still training them on basic PowerPoint skills." The room laughed. Everyone except me. I tried to continue, but he kept stepping in, fixing what wasn't broken, acting like I didn't know what I was doing. At one point he even muttered, "Guess I should have done this myself." It felt like being stripped bare in front of everyone. When the meeting ended, the client shook his hand, told him great presentation, and walked out smiling. I sat there pretending to organize my notes, trying not to show everyone how close I was to losing it. After the room cleared, my friend and coworker Jenna came over and whispered, "He went too far this time." Everyone saw it. Yeah. They did. That night I drove home in silence, parked in my driveway, and sat there for almost an hour, playing the scene over and over in my head. Humiliated. Angry. Embarrassed. But mostly, done. That was the moment I decided if Steve wanted to play power games, fine. I'd play smarter. I started by looking through my email history. For months, Steve had been forwarding my completed work to upper management and clients, but when he did, he'd remove my name from the thread. He'd write things like, "Here's the updated report I put together," or "I built a new pricing layout for this proposal." Every single time. And because he was the one presenting it, leadership assumed he was the brains behind half the department. I'll admit, part of me wanted to march into HR that very next morning and dump everything on the table. But that would only tip him off too early. He'd find a way to spin it. So I did the boring, unglamorous thing. I documented everything. Every email. Every file. Every Slack message. I also started saving new versions of our shared documents with version histories showing who made each change. Nobody ever checks metadata, but I knew how to keep a paper trail invisible until I needed it. 2 weeks later, Steve called me into his office with that smirk of his that I'd grown to hate. "Hey," he said, "I've got something big coming up. I need you to prep all the analytics for the Aperion pitch. It's a massive deal, we get this, we secure the next 6 months of funding." I nodded, pretending to be honored. What I didn't tell him was that he was about to hand me the perfect stage for his own undoing. The Aperion pitch was everything for him. The CEO had been pushing for new business, and this client was the golden ticket. Steve wanted all the credit. I wanted justice. So we were both motivated, just for different reasons. Over the next few weeks, I worked late nights gathering insights, building visuals, and crafting strategies that, frankly, could sell water to a fish. But each file I created carried one little silent detail: my author tag. I embedded my name in the presentation metadata, footnotes, and revision logs. When Steve reviewed the deck, he did his usual thing: cut my name out, replaced it with his, and acted like the genius he always wanted to be. But unlike before, this time his theft had a time-stamped signature under every slide. 2 days before the presentation, I got an unexpected email from the VP of Strategy. "Hey, saw your latest reports for the Aper Ion prep, impressive work. When did you find time to do all this?" I froze. The VP must have opened one of the original drafts where my name was still visible. I quickly replied modestly, saying I'd been helping build the foundation but that Steve would present everything. What I didn't know was that my quiet humility would make leadership pay even closer attention to who was really behind the work. Presentation day arrived. The conference room was spotless, fancy espresso machine humming, everyone dressed like LinkedIn models. I felt that tight, nervous fire in my chest. Steve strutted in, all confidence and cologne, with the kind of grin people wear when they think the world already belongs to them. He started the pitch strong, crediting himself for the insightful data and creative structure. I sat quietly against the wall, taking notes, exactly like he wanted. Then, halfway through, something unexpected happened. The CEO stopped him and said, "Steve, this is good, but some of these notes reference my name as file author." "Who's that?" The room went dead silent. Steve stammered. "Oh, that's just one of my team members, helped with formatting." I could feel every eye shift toward me. The CEO looked directly at me and asked, "Is that true?" All I said was, "I handled the data models and campaign structure." Steve led the presentation. Translation: I wasn't going to lie, but I didn't have to gloat either. That's when the VP of Strategy chimed in. "Actually, your file histories show my name was the primary creator for most of this deck. You might want to check your attribution, Steve." He turned pale. For the first time, he couldn't hide behind charm. The executives started asking questions, lots of them. About workflow, about analytics, about strategy. Steve tried to answer but couldn't. Every time, the answer came from me instead. By the end of the meeting, I wasn't the quiet background coordinator anymore. When it ended, the CEO shook my hand and said, "I was the person who actually built the campaign. Let's connect on expanding this client portfolio after the review." Then he looked at Steve. "We'll talk later." That talk later turned into a full-blown HR investigation. The VP had already suspected weird credit-grabbing issues on our team, and the meeting gave them a reason to dig deeper. Over the next week, HR went through my documentation, every email, backup, and project version. They found everything I'd been saving for months. Turns out, this wasn't the first time Steve had taken credit for his team's achievements. It was just the first time someone had hard proof. 2 weeks later, an all-staff email went out, effective immediately: "Steve, last name, will be pursuing opportunities outside the company. We thank him for his contributions." Translation: fired. A few days later, I got pulled into a meeting with the VP and HR. They told me I was being promoted to account manager, leading my own team, and given a nice salary bump for exemplary performance and professionalism. I walked out of that office trying not to laugh out loud. The man who humiliated me to feel powerful had just handed me his job. I wish I could say I gloated or rubbed it in, but the truth is, I didn't need to. Everyone already knew what happened. The atmosphere in the office shifted overnight. People were lighter, more collaborative, almost relieved. One of the designers even said, "It's weird not hearing someone get mocked for breathing wrong." I just smiled and got back to work. A few weeks later, I got an email from one of our old clients, the same one Steve embarrassed me in front of. They wrote, "We're glad you're still with the company. Looking forward to working directly with you." That felt better than any form of revenge could. When I tell this story now, people always ask, "How did you stay calm through all that?" I'd have snapped. Honestly, I wanted to, every single day. But I realized something: reacting emotionally would have proved him right. He wanted me to lose control, to look unprofessional, to give him a reason to belittle me. The most painful lesson I learned is that sometimes the quietest revenge is the most devastating. I didn't slam doors. I built a paper trail. I didn't yell. I documented. I didn't try to embarrass him. I just let the truth speak for itself. And in the end, the truth was louder than he ever was. So yeah, The guy who once mocked me for not labeling my charts correctly? He's now freelancing somewhere in another city. And me? I got promoted, respected, and, most importantly, peace of mind. If there's one thing I took away from that experience, it's this. When someone tries to humiliate you to look powerful, keep your head down and your receipts organized. Because nothing hits harder than karma served with proof.